To make a long story short, last week I found that almost $170,000 of the money was missing from one account. I freaked the F out and asked Andrea if she knew anything about it. She teared up and said that she'd been spending the money over the years to fund her spending habit. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, gonna go over a story titled, My Wife Stole Our Daughter's College Money to Fund Her Shopping Addiction and Wants Me to Take the Blame. Yes, have him take the blame. And a big shout out to Joseph for sending me this story. And guys, this in the title right then and there says it all. Well, you can't make this S-H-I-T up. You find out in this story, they set aside all this money over the years for the daughter to go to school. And lo and behold, when it's time to start getting things rolling for school, guess what? Most of that money is gone because of his wife's shopping addiction. And she wants him to take the blame. But you're going to see in the story, guys, doesn't exactly work out that way in the end. And in fact, in the end, this guy is going to handle it the right way. But let me tell you, it's quite the story. And you're going to see in the story, guys, this guy, although he does handle this right in the end, which you'll see, you're definitely going to want me and you to slap the shit out of him. Because you're going to see real quick that this girl, the daughter he talks about, isn't his biological daughter. This is his stepdaughter. And this guy married his wife when she was 40 years old, had a 9-year-old girl, okay, so he was Mr. White Knight, Captain Save you know what, and has been totally taken advantage of. And no good guy should be taken advantage of, but no guy should do what he did. And, well, I'm not going to say too much. You'll see as I go through this in real time where he's going wrong. But it never ceases to amaze me, the joke about the gals and accountability, and you're going to see it right here as we go through this story. And how people claim that they have the shopping addiction, which there are lots of addictions out there, but you'll see more in this story that it's less of an addiction when it's more about keeping up with the Joneses, and I'll get more into that later on. But the fact that he didn't see this ahead of time shows that he didn't do enough of a screening process of her and what she's like before he married her, and look what he gets. So it starts off, he says here, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I don't know what to do. And the problem is, I can't discuss this with anyone I'm close to for privacy reasons. I've been with my wife, Andrea, a 48-year-old female, and my stepdaughter, Cassie, 17-year-old female, for 8 years now. I love them both to death, but Cassie is a very brilliant young woman. Recognizing her potential, me and Andrea decided to put together a college fund for Cassie so she wouldn't be crushed by debt. Over the years, it has amounted to over $200,000. Cassie is aware of this and is banking on it since she's trying to get into an Ivy League school. Well, here's a question. If the girl's so brilliant and you don't want her to be crushed by debt, how about she uses her amazing grades to get scholarships and not go to an Ivy League so she pretty much can be fully covered or something like that? And also, there's nothing wrong with the kid having some debt, okay? Teaches them some responsibility. But these parents nowadays say, I don't want my kid to have debt. And then now the parents have to have more debt on themselves. And they have to then work longer in life, and you get the point. I mean, let the kid have some of the responsibility here. But $200,000? Good Lord. It says, to make a long story short, last week I found out that almost $170,000 of the money was missing from one account. I freaked the F out and asked Andrea if she knew anything about it. She teared up, shocker, and said that she's been spending the money over the years to fund her spending habit. $170,000 over the years to fund her spending habit. This is why you do your homework on who you get married to, gentlemen. I was furious, but I had a moment of clarity. I browsed through the subs enough to know that an affair was possible, so I asked her if she was having one. She adamantly denied it and offered any proof I needed. Social media accounts, emails, her work phone, everything. She offered to show me the receipts as well. There was nothing that popped out as suspicious, and the math from the receipts add up as well, so I let it go. But we still have one major problem of the money being gone. She described herself as a shopping addict, and the money from Cassie's account was just too tempting not to use. She didn't make excuses, but offered no solutions. Goodbye. We're done. You betrayed my trust. You lied to me. You deceived. I mean, how does this guy not notice this? $170,000, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of stuff that she could have purchased. He didn't say something wrong with UPS and Amazon delivering every day and all this shit she accumulated over time. Well, we'll come back to that. As stated before, I was beyond furious. She ruined Cassie's chances of going to college debt-free and has changed the trajectory of her whole life. I'd asked her to stay with her sister while I tried to figure this out. Cassie was concerned about why she was leaving, but we just said we need a little bit of space. I asked Andrea to come back home yesterday, and we had an extremely long discussion on how to handle the situation. She stopped me from the talking and asked me for a favor. Hang on, nice guy. She interrupted you from your talking to ask you for a favor. She's in no position to stop you, interrupt you, and ask you for a favor. Unless, of course, her perception of you is, this is Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. White Knight marrying me at 40 years old with a 9-year-old daughter, Captain Save you know what, and I can have my way with him. And watch this. She asked if I could take the fall for her. For context, she and Cassie don't get along very well for a variety of reasons. Gee, I wonder why. And knowing how independent Cassie is, she'd probably leave right after college, if not during. In fact, me and Cassie get along very well, and she comes to me for a lot of her issues. Andrea fears this will permanently drive Cassie away, and she doesn't want to lose her. Oh, okay, so instead of taking accountability for your actions, stealing from your daughter's college fund, and I'll come back to them more later, you want your husband, who has a great relationship with her, to take the fall, which the girl probably wouldn't believe anyway. So that way she'll dislike you both equally or something like that. Yeah, thanks a lot. That's great. That's great wife material. Why this guy isn't saying, get out, we're done, I have no idea. I told her that before we even talk about that, smack, the fact you're even considering this, you're out of your goddamn mind, dude. She needed to acknowledge her mistake and own it. She needed to go to individual therapy. We need couples counseling. She needed to find a shopaholic support group. And that I will be controlling the finances from now on. Why weren't you controlling the finances prior to this, amigo? She said those terms were steep but fair. Lady, you're in no position to negotiate. But clearly she knows her husband's obviously, well, you all know, so that's a little steep. I said she needed to tell Cassie what she did, apologize, and hope for the best. She refused and said she could never lose Cassie. She said that I could survive the mistake, but she couldn't. I told her that in order to even consider me taking the fall, she needs to agree to my terms. I don't know what the hell to do. Smack. Yes, you do. You just don't want to do it. The last thing I want to do is lie to Cassie. Then don't. But I don't want Andrea and Cassie to split up forever. That's her own doing. And the worst part about this whole thing is that Cassie's life is ruined either way. And I don't know how to replenish the money other than me borrowing from my 401k. Smack. Reddit, do you have any suggestions? Divorce is always an option, but I love Andrea despite her mistakes, and me dating at age 52 is next to impossible. Smack. All right, I'm going to address this in reverse. Number one, the whole dating at 52 is next to impossible. Dude, that's bullshit. Unless you're physically repulsive and you got no personality, yeah, you can. A guy, even in his early 50s, has a much better shot at dating than a woman in her early 50s if he presents himself out to the world as a guy's a catch. He physically looks in decent shape, dresses well, has a personality, has resources, which this guy clearly does. But this guy's obviously, he may be a very good guy, but he's obviously Mr. Nice Guy by his actions, as you can tell. Marrying a single mom at 40 years old with a 9-year-old daughter, and he's putting away $200,000 over the years with her for the child that isn't his. Why isn't this child's father putting away money for the girl, right? Now, you're going to find out in part 2, the money didn't all come from him and the wife, coming from the grandparents, but even still. And he's thinking about borrowing money from his 401k, money to retire on, to pay for this girl's college education. Oh, hell no. The problem is a lot of parents have nowadays that they think that their kids will have a life of misery if they can't take some loans out for themselves, or, God forbid, not work during college. I worked during college when I went to college. Wasn't a problem. Okay? I used to have a client, personal training client, for years. She worked for a very large bank, worked in the investment side of the bank, had all her clients were multimillionaires, and she would always try to advise them in the right way, things to do with their money as well as regular investments. Biggest problem she had was when the families had kids going off to college, they wanted to pay the full ride to their kids so their kids wouldn't have any debt or have to have a job during college. And she would say, diplomatically of course, because these are clients, I worked all during college and it was never a problem, but they don't want to do it. And that's the generation that the parents are raising and conditioning nowadays. Cassie, it sucks the situation, but her mom fucked up. He shouldn't take responsibility for that because that's weakness, ruining the relationship with her and letting her get away free from this whole thing, her mistake. And also the fact that the girl can learn a hard lesson about life. If she's doing so well, she can get some scholarships. She can go to a cheaper school. There are alternatives here. Her life's not over. Don't be a drama queen. And you should not be with this wife after what she did and her wanting you to take the blame, her manipulating you. No. So, part 2, we're going to get into little minor updates and the major updates of how he handles the situation, redeems himself, and more details about this situation going on. He says, as a little edit here, after everyone here knocks some sense into me, I realize I can't lie to Cassie. There you go. I love her too much and deserves the absolute truth no matter how ugly and hard it is. I'll be talking to Andrea and telling her that we need to tell her the truth together as a condition of us staying together, or else I will initiate divorce proceedings and tell Cassie anyway. Also, as someone suggested, I don't need her trying to flip the script on me, so I'll record our interactions going forward. There you go. Do not take blame for this. Mom can take the blame for it. Edit number 2. I want to thank everyone here for really opening my eyes yesterday. You're all right. I need to put Cassie first, and like I said, I'll be telling the absolute truth. Even if she gets mad at me and disowns me, at least I'll know I did the right thing. In addition, I'm going to pay for her college myself. Smack. Dude, I get that you love the girl, but she's not even your biological child. Where's her father? Why isn't he paying money? Why isn't your wife taking money out of her 401k? Oh, I forgot. She spent that on Amazon or fucking Gucci. She should be taking money out of her retirement account, borrowing against if she wants to. Not you. More nice guy shit. Don't jeopardize your future for your wife's fuck up. But, of course, that's what the movies tell guys to do, to be strong. I can pull money from a couple places, such as my retirement and inheritance, so I'll be okay. Smack. I'll have to live a little frugally during retirement and work extra years, so be it. Cassie is worth it. I honestly doubt her mother is going to sell her stuff, so that's why I'm taking this route. Unless you make her sell her stuff. Unless you make her take loans from her own retirement, amongst many other things. Gotta have some balls, dude. As for Andrea, I've been criticized for wanting to let Andrea off the hook, so to speak. But it's easy to say when really deep feelings aren't involved. No, dude, it's not hard to say. That being said, I don't think I can stay with her, and what she did is horrendous, and she ruined our daughter's future for her addiction. We'll come back to this whole addiction thing in a moment, where I don't think it's an addiction. We had a long discussion late last night, and I threatened divorce, unless she told Cassie the truth. She begged me not to do this, but I put my foot down, and eventually she agreed, but only if I agreed not to divorce, and I helped to repair the relationship. I likely won't be doing either. She made her bed, and she can sleep in it. See what happens when you put your foot down and grow some balls and act like a fucking man? So I have an update. I'll probably just make a whole new post. Thanks a lot. Now, for the official update. Says here, I want to start by thanking everyone who replied to me in the original post. You all showed me tough love, and I appreciate that. I've been appreciating those who were calling me a doormat because, like I said in previous posts, it woke me up. I'm glad this guy's not one of these guys that gets pissed off when guys tell him what he needs to hear. At least he's acknowledging he was weak and a doormat, and he acknowledges that. That's good. There's hope for this dude. He says here, I won't be staying with Andrea. Hallelujah. We got through to him. She's lied and manipulated me and Cassie for far too long for me to stay with her. The fact that she stole from me, Cassie, and Cassie's grandparents makes us as close to unforgivable as it gets. The most wrong party here is Cassie. She has an amazing future ahead of her, and I refuse to let her future go to waste because my wife made such a selfish choice, or choices. Also, I'd like to take the time to answer some common questions, some of which I answered in the original post, but I'll post here again so everybody can see it. Number 1, Over half the money in the account came from Cassie's grandparents, aka Andrea's parents. Cassie's biological dad's parents and my parents, whom she calls grandparents. The money came in the beginning, which is why I knew how much was supposed to be there. So the money came from him, her, his wife's parents, the biological parents of the baby daddy, all that. So it wasn't just from him, it's from all these other people. 2, I never handled the account. Although I claim Cassie as my daughter, she's only my stepdaughter officially. As such, her mother handles all financial matters related to her. Well, that proved to be a stupid idea, but I'm going to guess in the beginning, everything seemed squeaky clean, not a problem with her. I simply gave her money to put in the account, and she showed me probably doctored statements. My belief is that she pocketed the cash whenever I gave her the money. And probably in her mind, hey, if I cry enough, he'll forgive me. Number 3, I did notice all the stuff that she was buying. She claimed that they were either on sale or because she got a work bonus. She makes a very good living, and I thought was responsible with money, so I said, all right. I did ask her why she needed so many Christian Louboutin, I can't pronounce it, shoes, and she shrugged it off. And although people can't wrap their heads around it, it's very easy to spend $170,000. No, I can't wrap my head around it. Number 4, a large chunk of the money went to buy a Mercedes, which I thought was a lease. She had a 7-year-old Lexus that, according to her friends were laughing at. Keeping up appearances for her wealthy friends is very important to her. There you go. Now we're getting down to what it's really about. This isn't a shopping addiction. This is a keeping up with the Joneses, I care everybody thinks thing. Okay? She bought a Mercedes, but she claimed that it was leased. Okay? So, obviously, a brand new Mercedes, that's a big chunk of the $170,000. Then shoes and probably clothes and all that. All for appearances. That's not a shopping addiction. That's just that's even worse. Because if someone generally has different addictions, that's one thing. But she's choosing to keep up with her friends and all that. And at the end of the day, these aren't really her friends. So it's way worse. What I tell you guys all the time about people that they may look rich on the outside, but they don't have, when it comes down to it, they really have nothing to them because they're spending all this money trying to impress other people. While people that may not look like they're wealthy are loaded, even though they're not walking around in expensive clothes and shoes and handbags or cars or jewelry or whatever. Number 5, Cassie and Andrea do not get along for a variety of reasons. I wonder why. Allegedly, Cassie takes a lot after her deceased father, and Andrea can't relate to her at all. Or maybe doesn't try hard enough. Cassie much prefers me to talk to. We have parent/child boundaries, but Cassie considers me one of her best friends, her words, not mine. Well, that's great. He has a great relationship with his stepdaughter, but the best friend thing? You're supposed to be the parent, not the best friend. If you can be both, that's great, but... Number 6, I realized taking the fall was her manipulating me. Yeah. Plus, it would have opened me up to a bunch of crap ton of consequences that I don't need to deal with. Plus, honesty is always the best policy. Number 7, I wasn't thinking properly in my last post and was afraid to be alone and single. Smack! No man should be afraid to be alone and single. Believe me, alone and single is pretty freaking great. You do what you want, whenever you want, end of story. But a lot of guys need someone. They can't be alone, and they take the wrong people into their lives because of their neediness, and this is the shit you get. I guess I have some issues being alone that I need to address. Yes, you do, sir. Plus, I really do love Andrea. We connect in a very deep way, but I'm still divorcing her. Good. Oddly enough, a comment that senior homes have chlamydia outbreaks for me laughing and made me realize I could date again at this age. Plus, you guys gave me some very nice compliments. Thank you very much. He was referring to him being 52. Bro, if you look decent at 50, if you're in relatively good shape, dress well, have a personality, and you got some resources, you can date at 52. But be careful who you're going to date because, well, look who you got before. Look how she's taking advantage of you. After my final update in the original post, I talked to Andrea deep into the night. She went back and forth with me on admitting to Cassie what she did. She said that she, or even both of us, could get loans and take care of the money then. Oh, now she's offering to take a loan for this whole thing. How nice of her. How about sell your shit? There's an idea. Here's what you're gonna do. We're gonna stay together. You're gonna sell 90% of all those goddamn shoes. You're gonna sell that Mercedes. I don't care what you say or what your friends say. Then you can divorce her. I said that she had a problem and she needs to make amends, which is a talking point from here. When I threatened her with divorce, she agreed to tell her so long as I don't divorce her. I guess she's afraid of losing everything. Well, she didn't care before, but she didn't think you were going to go anywhere. She didn't think this guy had the balls to divorce her. That's why she was pulling this shit. She didn't think there was any consequences to her actions. That afternoon, we sat Cassie down and told her the facts. She thought we were just kidding at first, but when she realized we weren't kidding, she got extremely upset. I'll spare you the details, but she and Andrea got an extremely loud and vicious shouting match. You ever hear two women fight? Or a mother and daughter fight? Good Lord. Cassie called her some truly awful names, and Andrea, while she didn't curse at her, tried to defend herself by started getting angry at the names she was being called. They were so loud that the neighbors called the police. I had to awkwardly explain the situation to them while hoping they didn't think I was some kind of wife beater. The cops were probably like, oh Lord, yeah, I got a daughter and a wife, I know. Cassie told Andrea that she never wanted to speak to her again and she never wanted a dime of her money and stormed off. I'd be like, hold on, daughter. You ain't getting it from me. You're getting it from your mother when she sells her Mercedes. I asked Andrea at this point to stay with her sister indefinitely while we give Cassie and me some space. She didn't want to go. She fought me to stay, but I told her me and Cassie needed some time apart from her. So she packed her stuff and went to her sister's house. Yeah, pack all your goddamn shoes into your Mercedes and get out. I'll call you when I'm ready. As for Cassie, she went to her room and locked the door. She let me in after I told her that her mother had left. She cried in my arms and expressed that her future has now ruined. I told her it wasn't and that I would cover her college from my retirement, smack, and that I would make it right. She doesn't exactly know what a 401k is yet, but she told me she doesn't want me to work until I'm 90 years old like the people at Walmart just because of her. Don't diss the people at Walmart. And if she doesn't know what a 401k is, you better educate her on these important things. I'm sure she knows all the proper pronouns, but she doesn't know things like 401ks and things like that. It's time for her to learn. I just told her she's worth it and that you do stupid things for people you love. Like you married her mother, stupid things for people you love. She said that she would start looking for scholarships and maybe other schools where she could get a full ride since she has excellent grades in extracurriculars. There's an idea. Yes, exactly. Instead of having your parents spend $200,000 on your education, if she's so brilliant, a lot of brilliant people went to college for like 1 year and then they dropped out and started their own companies. That's what brilliant people really do. But of course, if she wants to become a doctor, she can't just drop out. I admitted Andrea to a psych ward. I then admitted Andrea wanted to take the fall for her and that I had considered it. But I came to my senses. She got upset with me and told me that it would have been the stupidest things that I ever could have done. Yeah, this 17-year-old is smarter than he is. Taking the fall for the wife, that's crazy. She said she wouldn't have believed it anyway, and it only would have made her more upset at her mom. She told me that she doesn't blame me, and she's not mad at me for the money being gone, but she's mad that I'd want to cover for her mother. What I tell about women resenting weak men? Right there. She'd been mad at him for covering for the mom. Weakness. I apologized for that. We talked and cuddled for a while longer before calling it a night. The next morning, I get a call from Andrea's parents asking if the story was true. Cassie had told them the story, and they were calling to confirm. I had the voice recordings and bank statements to prove it. They were livid, but begging me not to leave Andrea for this, and to try and help her through her addiction. It's not an addiction. She's just trying to keep up with the Joneses. Addiction is her way out of this thing. She's the one that said, I'm addicted to shopping. I'm a shopaholic. Therefore, setting aside some blame and accountability. I told them I wasn't sure about that yet and hung up. A while later, my parents called and asked about me about it as well. I confirmed. They were probably more mad than Cassie was, all things considered, and they're threatening to press charges. I told them to calm down and I would handle it. Cassie is doing okay. She's still a little shell-shocked, but she seems to be taking it as well as one could hope for. I made her pancakes this morning, and that seemed to brighten her mood a bit. I asked her if she wants to do therapy. She said she'd think about it. I'll be doing therapy for myself. I gotta tell you, I need to be in the therapy business. Because all these stories people talk about going into therapy, I mean, I guess I am in a therapy business in a way, but still. Andrea's been calling to talk, but I just let the phone ring and ring. So she leaves voicemail. She's offering anything to make it right. Now listen to this. She's offering money, sex, favors, you name it, but it's not going to work. She's bribing her husband with sex. So I'm going to guess that he doesn't get a whole lot of it. And when he does, it's probably pretty boring. But all of a sudden now she's, willing to offer this and offer that. I feel horrible for Cassie, and especially so close to Christmas. I'm thinking I'm going to get her tickets to a concert that for some guy that's her god. It won't make up for it all, but it could go a long way to help her feeling better. So that's it for now. I guess I'll update for anything in the further that happens, but this is pretty much it. Thank you all you've been a tremendous help. And as a quick little update, he says, I forgot to add, I watched my credit like a hawk, so there was nothing suspicious there, but it's going to be locked. I'll be going to my account next week to have Andrew removed from everything meaningful. Life insurance, will, bank accounts, etc. I'll be adding Cassie. I've started changing passwords and the like so Andrew doesn't have access. I'm stringing Andrew along with non-divorce until my accounts are secure. Also, for what I can tell, Cassie's credit is okay, but I'll be doing a deep scan and locking that as well. So, what this guy's doing is he's stringing her along with the we're not going to get divorced thing until he gets everything in order, and then he's obviously going to divorce her, I hope. And what he's mentioning about the credit is he's checking to see if his wife took out credit cards in his name or the daughter's name. I've heard stories about this, right? And I mean, it's terrible. But this woman on multiple fronts is just, he can't be with her any longer. He can't trust her, the bullshit she's pulled, and she wanted him to take the blame, have the daughter hate and resent him. And right there, when he admitted that to the daughter, she flat out said, I never would have believed it, right? And the daughter was mad that he considered doing that. Because again, women hate weakness. Even if they're 17 years old, women hate weak guys. But the movies teach all guys to take all the blame and hardships for the woman, even though the woman fucked up. You do that in real life, they don't respect you. But right there, and again, I stand by what I said. For what the information that's presented, I don't call it a shopping addiction. I call her keeping up with the Joneses and just not giving a shit about him or their daughter or anybody else, and just an asshole, and using the addiction thing just to, shrug off some blame for her actions there. But this guy, he can't be married to her. But this is a lesson with the white knight type of guys that go in with the woman who he married her when she was 40, had the young girl, and I'm sure that young girl was a great kid. I'm sure she was. But he took all this on, right? And it's just, life is short. Guys shouldn't have to deal with that stuff. But a lot do. And you know what? If he, aside from being a bit clueless and pee-whipped, but fortunately he's learned a few things from the comment section here, and I wish him well. Still, I hope he has a good thing with a girl going on, and they have a good relationship, all that, because that girl certainly is going to have a very good one with her mother. That's for sure. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.